Right, good evening. තාම කට්ටිය කනෙක්ට් වෙන ගමන් අපි පොඩ්ඩක් බලමු. Right, so let's begin. Okay, so last time, we were talking about the Pascal part. Like when I was ending the session, I told you that we are going to start the Pascal today, right? So, yeah, so today I'm going to show you how the things are going to happen with the Pascal, right? So let me share the screen. I hope you can hear me clearly at your side, right? So And for your information, O levels is starting by coming Monday, right? That means tomorrow, right? So you will be having the same chance, hopefully in the December, not the December. Yeah, hopefully in the December, right? I don't think it won't be delayed due to this pandemic situation, right? So remember, now you are the seniors, right? You've been promoted to the grade 11s officially, since the grade 11s are going like ending by 10th of March, their O-level school career. So you are officially grade 11 now, right? Okay, so here we go. We are going to do the Pascal related codings. So yeah, let me close this. Yeah. So as your book shows, now we have done things from the beginning, right? We discuss about how we are going to solve a problem, right? How we are going to decompose into a problem into a input process output things, right? So we talked about how an algorithm can be generated. What are the tools that we can use? We learn about two things, which is the flowchart, the graphical representation, and the pseudocode, the textual representation for an uh, particular algorithm, right? So then we learn about these structures, which is sequence, selection, and repetition. Like sequence is nothing, the instructions which happens once after the other. And the selection is about like upon a condition, uh, we are going to choose one path and flow to the end, right? And repetition, it's an iterative nature, or a repeating nature in an algorithm, right? So we learn how to illustrate these things in the graphical way using the flowchart, and in the textual way using the pseudocodes. And in the pseudocodes, for selections we use if then else structure, and for iteration we use while, right? So today we are going to learn about how these things, or how the algorithm that we have illustrated using a flowchart or using a pseudocode is going to be mapped into a programming language, right? So here the programming language that we are using is called Pascal, right? And again, you can try coding these Pascal source codes, or like the programs. There are many different uh, versions, and many different organizations has introduced the Pascal compilers, right? So here I am using a compiler called Charm Pascal, right? The why I'm using this, it is because it gives us a very friendly interface to work with, right? So for that reason, like there are many different interfaces, many different versions, like Turbo Pascal, Free Pascal, like there are many versions, right? But I'm using the Charm Pascal because it it's very user friendly, and it is very nice to see things, right? සමහර ඒවා තියෙනවා like blue color screen එකත් එක්ක සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම blur වෙලා යන, so sometimes they get stuck, but Charm Pascal is not giving me that hard time, so it's a good interface to try the things, right? Okay, so before we jump into this, let's go through how the programming can be done using the Pascal. And people remember, Now we are going to talk about how Pascal works, right? Not any other languages, right? So don't think all the languages are going to be or like going to work on this particular rules, right? So we are going to talk about the Pascal rules that we address as syntax, right? So syntax are program specific. That means like programming language specific. There are several syntax which belongs to the which should be obeyed in Pascal programming. There are several rules which should be goes with the Java programming. There can be common things. There can be different things, right? But now hereafter we are going to talk about the syntax of the Pascal, right? Okay, so now before I jumped into this, now, yeah, just a second, people. Right, so sorry for that, people. Minul, I thought. Right, okay. Yeah, I just changed that Minul, like the meeting ID that I was using was deleted and I was rescheduling since the all-level people has done with the Star Labs. So I changed the meeting IDs. Never mind, we just start the Pascal Minul. All right, so the identifiers. So now, what I was talking is before you move into the Pascal programming or in like before you move into any programming language, the things that you need to remember is now you are going to map what you have developed using the flowchart or the pseudocode into a program, right? So in the flowchart, we generally talked about variables, we generally talked about input statements, we generally talked about output statements, we generally talked about processors, right? And we generally talked about conditions. Now, only thing that you need to figure out in any programming language is how to convert or how to map the things in the flowchart or the pseudocode into a program specific source code, right? So program specific source code එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ program එකකින් අපි build up කරන program එකට අපි කියනවා source code එක කියලා, right? So that is programming language specific, right? So there should be a way to declare a variable. So you need to know how to declare a variable. And there should be a way to input things. So you need to know how we are going to input things using this particular programming language. That's all. It doesn't matter whether we are learning Pascal or we are learning Java or we are learning C# or anything. It doesn't matter, right? So only thing you are going to see how these things can be done using this programming language, right? So in the very first point in your book regarding the Pascal programming, they are talking about identifiers. Now, identifiers are something that the programmer or the user or the coder going to declare, right? එයා දෙන වචන, අපි දෙන වචන. Those are called identifiers, right? So where are we need to use the identifiers? Most frequently, we are using identifiers in the variables, as the variable names. That variable name එකක් වේවා, ඉස්සරහට ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඉගෙන ගන්නවා functions කියලා જાතියක්, function එකකට නමක් දෙන්න ඕනේ. right? ඒ ඕනම දෙයක් පොදුවේ අපි හඳුන්වන්නේ identifier එකක් කියලා. Right? So if you are going to write a variable name, you have to think about an identifier. There are some rules, the way to say that how we are going to define an identifier. නමක් ලියන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා. So ඒක අපි ලියන හැම නමක්ම පොදුවේ අපි හඳුන්වනවා as an identifier. So it can be a variable, it can be a function name, it can be a procedure name, right? Like those kind of things, right? Okay, so identifiers, now identifiers cannot use the reserved word in Pascal. Now reserved word means there are certain words that is reserved for some certain things in the programming language. It changes from programming language to programming language. There are some common things and there are some different things as well, right? Now if you think about the structures that we use, if, while, those type of words are reserved words. If කියන එක reserved word එකක්, language එක reserved word එකක්. So we can't use if as a variable name, right? Then this begin and end, we can't use begin and end as the variable names, right? So other than these reserved words, we can use any other word, but again we have to obey the rules that is declared in the Pascal language when we are writing an identifier, right? So when you are writing an identifier, these are the rules that you need to obey. Now it should start with a English letter, so that is a must, right? So either it can be a capital or it can be a simple, right? You must start it with a letter, with an English letter, right? And remember, there is no rule that your identifier cannot have more than one character or the vice versa, right? කියන්නේ එක character එකක්ම තිබිය යුතුයි කියලා නීතියකුත් නැහැ. එකකට වඩා characters තියෙන්න ඕන කියලා නීතියකුත් නැහැ. Right? You have the liberty to define an identifier, or in simple words, a variable name. So that can be, it may comes with one particular letter, or there can be many letters, like it forming a word, right? But anyway, the very first character should be an English letter. So if it is just one letter that you are going to use, like X, so it can be a capital X or a simple X, that doesn't matter. And remember, you cannot use any other type of characters. What are the any other type of characters? You can't use numbers as the starting character. You can't use underscore and all these symbols as the starting character, right? So the very first character should be a letter. So if your identifier going to contain more than one letter, then the rest of the letters, like after the first letter, rest of the characters can be either a letter or a number or an underscore. That's all, right? නෝක හරිම වැදගත්, right? පළවෙනි character එක, it's going to be a capital or simple letter. Rest of the characters are going to be a letter or a number or an underscore, and that's all that you can use. So that means you cannot use any special characters other than the underscore, right? What are the special characters? It is there on your book as well. So like these are the special characters. See, the tilde mark, exclamation, at, hash, dollar, percentage, all these things. You cannot use these inside what? Inside an variable or inside an identifier, right? Okay, So here they are given you some examples which are valid identifiers and the invalid ones, right? So see, so this is sum, valid identifier, sum in capital letters, valid identifier, total underscore NOS, which indicates numbers, a valid identifier, num1, valid identifier, first name together, valid identifier, last underscore name, valid identifier. And these are the invalid things. Why this is invalid? Because it starts from the dollar sign. We have to start an identifier from a letter, from an English letter, right? Capital or a simple one. And average mark. Now, why this is going to be wrong? Because they use a space. Space is a special character, so it is wrong. 9A, why this is going to be wrong? Because it is starting from a number, so it is wrong. Last dash name, again it's going to be wrong because of the dash, so you can't use special characters other than the underscore. Okay, people, did you got that? Now when you are writing an identifier, you have to follow these rules. No problem, Ovin. You can use the underscore in any place that you need, right? So the only thing that you have to be sure is that you use the characters that the identifier allowed to use, right? So that is the thing, right? එතකොට අපි නමක් propose කරනවා නම් අපි නමක් propose කරනවා නම්, so we have to obey to these rules, right? Otherwise you will be getting an error. So those errors will be called as syntax errors because we did the grammatical errors regarding this particular language. Then අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් නේද අපි සිංහලෙන් කතා කරනකොට නේද මම කියලා පටන් ගත්තොත් මී වලින් ඉවර කරන්න ඕනේ. So it's a grammatical thing, right? අපි single noun එකක් පාවිච්චි කරනවා නම් we have to use a s with a verb. That's a grammatical thing. So likewise syntax are the grammatical rules in a programming language. So if when we are doing a mistake regarding that, those are called syntax errors, right? Okay, so you know now how to write an identifier, right? So then they are introducing you the reserve words. Now people, you can't remember all these reserve words, right? It's a huge list. But there are certain things that we can remember, like this and, right? Then matakaine gates tika, right? There are and, there are o, right? There are XOR, right? And as I remember, there is not as well, right? And we talked about begin in the pseudocode, so we are talking the begin in the Pascal codes as well, right? So begin, end, those are reserve words. And when we are talking about the if structure, if, else, right? When we are talking about an iteration, it's going to be what, while should be here. Yeah, it's here, while, right? So there are things that you can remember. Okay, these are going to be reserve words. So other than that, you cannot remember these words. And again, if you just walk through this list, you will realize these are not some words that we are trying to use to define a variable, right? Variable එකට අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්නෙම නැති තරම් වචන තමයි මෙතන තියෙන්නේ, right? So don't worry about the reserve words, but remember some of them, like the things that we are using very frequently, right? So if you are use a reserve word, then Pascal will recognize it as a reserve word, not as a variable name, right? You can then go into code කරගෙන යනකොට realize it, right? Okay. So So moving from the reserved words, I'm going to do the standard data types in Pascals. Now this data type is something new to you. We didn't talk about these things when we are doing the flow chart or the pseudocodes. And there is no rule or there is no standard to talk about these things when we are doing the flow chart or the pseudocodes, right? So now these data types are there to use or are there to indicate what kind of data that we are using, like specifically regarding a variable, right? Now, I think you can remember the data types that we use when we are doing the ninth lesson of the grade 10, the database. It has some similarities, right? But when it comes to the Pascal, there are 5 types of data that you need to recognize or to identify. The first one is the integer, right? So like api pseudocode එකක් ලියනකොට we just take x equal 10 නේද? Or like we are writing, take a number and consider it as x, right? Simple as that. But when you are using a variable in Pascal, you have to say what is the data type, what is the data type of the variable that you are going to declare, right? I'll show you how the things are going to declare, but before that we need to know about these data types. So what are the data types? Integer is one data type. So integer data type can be used to indicate or can be used in a variable that is going to have the values as the whole numbers. Can be a positive or can be a negative, right? So anyway, those are going to be whole numbers, purna sankhya, right? And there is a type called real, which means or which indicates the decimal values, right? So numbers with floating points or numbers with decimals. So you can use it again for pluses or minuses. So if you need to represent a decimal value, you need to use the real, or like you need to assign that particular value into a real type variable, right? නැත්නම් ඔය integer variable එකක් x integer කියලා කියලා ඔයා ඒකට decimal value එකක් දෙන්න ගියොත් again you are going to make a syntax error, right? So remember, when you are using the variable, you have to determine what kind of a variable that this is going to be, or like which type of a variable, right? And again, you can use or create a variable in Boolean data type. So Boolean data type just contain 2 values, which is the true or the false, right? So those can be used to determine the Boolean data type, right? So Boolean data type will be very much used when we are doing the condition related things, right? And char, char, is defined as the 1 character data type, right? So like if you're going to assign a 1 letter to a variable, particular letter or a character, we can't say just a letter. You can use a letter, you can use a special character, or you can use a number still with single quotes that is recognized as a char variable, right? So only 1 with single quotes. Single quotes dapu gamam, it becomes a char type of data, right? And in the same way, you can create string type of data, right? That particular string type of data determines sequence of characters failure godak, right? So that particular character set can contain letters, special characters, or numbers, any character, right, as a value. දැන් මෙතන තාම ගොඩක් කට්ටිය පටල ගන්නවා. ඉතින් සර් කිව්වනේ identifier එක කරනකොට දාන්න බෑ. දැන් ඇයි මෙතනද කියන්නේ කියලා. Now identifier is your left hand side. දැන් x equal 10 කියලා කිව්වම identifier එක ඉන්නේ ඔයාගේ වම් අත පැත්තේ. It is x. ඒ x ට නමක් ලියනකොට තමයි මම අර rules ටික කිව්වේ. But when you are given a value to x, that value can contain any character you need, right? So regarding the type that you are assigning to it, so it creates or not create a syntax error, right? Okay, so remember, if you need to define a character or a string, you must use single quotes. Single quotes, remember. Single quotes කියන එක තමයි පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕනේ. Right? Okay, people, is that clear? How the data types and the identifiers are defined.
Yes.
Okay, how about others? Right, great. Yes, the people. Okay. Right, okay, right, okay. All right, so before we move into the other things, it's better we note down some of the things, right? So I'll write you down some short note type of things, so you better copy that to your book so you can go through, right? Okay, so let me take your whiteboard, and people just excuse me, I have to take my medicine. I'm on medication, so just a second now. Right, so get ready. I'm going to take your board. There we are. Yeah, I'll make it right over here because I need this particular part when we are mapping the things. Right. So here we go. Right. So first, it is about identifiers. This can be a variable, constant, function name, as well as procedure name. Yeah, so how we are going to define this? If this is the identifier, if it contains 4 characters, the very first character English letter, it should be, right? So that means A to Z simple can be taken, A to Z. So rest of the things can be English letters, numbers, and underscore. So that means A to Z can be happen, A to Z in capital can be happen, 0 to 9 can be there, and this underscore can be there. Okay, yeah, copy this down, people. So this is going to be the short note for your Pascal programming. Let me know when you are done, people. And it's better you say this is as the identifier name. Right, one is done. How about others? Uh, Okay, 3 are done. How about others? Yes, Minul. We have the same question, but like earlier they had this BB for O levels, but I don't know. We have to ask it from the people who have made it, right? Yeah, I agree with that point, right? Even we have proposed if the Pascal basics are given in the O levels, not the Pascal, the Python basics are given in the O levels, that can be used to do the advanced things in the A level, but it has a conflict because there can be people who have not done the ICT for O level but choosing the ICT for A level. So maybe because of that. Right, people. So I'm moving forward. So next we are going to write about the reserve words, not the reserve words. We don't need to go with the reserve words, and just indicate it right over here by saying reserve words cannot be used as identifiers. Right, as an example, begin cannot be used as an identifier. Right, it's better you mention that, and then we are going to write about the data types. And as you know, there are 5 types: integers, real, boolean, char, and string. It's better you try the examples right over here. -10, Seren, as we talk, like මම identifier පාවිච්චි කරන තැන් විදිහට අර වරහන් ඇතුළේ ලිව්වේ variable name එකක් විදිහට, constant name එකක් විදිහට, function name එකක් විදිහට, so we can use the identifiers. and it's better you say the types of values. Okay, let me know when you are done, right? Okay, two are done. No. Oh yes, two are done, right? Three are done. Okay, people, you are pretty fast. Four are done. Okay, five are done. Six. All right. Seems everyone are done with the things. Are there still anyone who is writing these things? Okay, right. So moving to the next part. So now, yeah, now this particular diagram on your book is giving you some very good uh, way of like introducing how these integers and all these things are like containing, right? Yeah, it's better, Minul. It's like this now. Like whenever I ask you to write the programs, you have to write it on your book first. Then you can try it. But I'm not asking everyone to try because there can be people who don't have the facilities at your place. So you can try it using the Pascal IDE if you want, right? But what I want is when I'm asking you to write something, you should be able to write that code, right? Because that is what they are trying to test in the exam, right? So like the best thing should be like we learn how to code, but the problem is according to our exam system, we have to practice how to write the codes, right? But again, it will practice you, right? So it doesn't matter you do the practicals and see even during the class when I'm doing the things, when I'm asking you to do the things. So what you must be done, what you must do is writing the code according to the program that I'm asking you to do so, right? In the book or in the computer, but anyway, you have to have it on the book, right? Okay, so then I'm moving to the variables and constant. Now, we have used many variables, like when we are taking the inputs from the user, we always say like take a number, then we are dealing with the word number. So number is working as a variable, or like we say, take three numbers and consider them as x, y, and z. So x, y, and z variables have been created, right? So variable, the meaning of the variable is some component which is having a change in value, right? වෙනස් වෙන අගයක් තියෙන තැනක් තමයි අපි variable එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ. So there is a exact opposite for a variable which we call as a constant as well. So that is program specific. අපි pseudo code ලියනකොට ගොඩාක් වෙලාවට constants ගැන එහෙම ලොකුවට කතා බහ කරන්නේ නැහැ, but mention if we really need to go through. But there are something called constant as well. So unlike variables, they are not going to change their values. And if you are if you given a value at the initial point to a constant, you won't be given the chance, or like Pascal will not allow you to change the value of that particular constant, right? So if you are given a value as an initial value, so that's it, to a constant. And to a variable, you can initiate a value, then you can change as much as you want. So variable works like that, right? So when you are creating a variable, so like this is a nice picture to describe the variable. So when we create a variable in the memory, this kind of a scenario is happening. It is creating a space like a bucket, like we can take it as a bucket, and it has the variable name on it. And when you are given a value, so it will take that particular value into that particular space. And remember, uh, like 95% of the variables are holding just one value per time. එක සැරයකට එක value එකයි ළඟ තියාගෙන ඉන්නේ. තව value එකක් ගන්න කියලා කිව්වොත් the previous value will get replaced. Right? කලින් value එක නැති වෙලා යනවා. අලුතෙන් ආපු එක තමයි යට වැටෙන්නේ. ඒකට හරියට මේ අර මේ කෝප්පේ පුරවලා තියෙන වතුර නම් ඔයාට දොඩම් දාන්න ඕන නම් දොඩම් ජූස් එකක් දාන්න ඕන නම් කෝප්පේ ඇතුළට you have to take away the water, right? So likewise, right? So whatever you are going to put inside nibly into the variable will replace the old one, right? And when you are like working with the variables in the Pascal, now this is the way that you are going to work. First, you have to initiate your variable, right? So how you are going to initialize? This var is going to be a keyword or a reserve word, right? So var indicates, okay, this is going to be a variable. And then you have to say, what is the variable name? Now this is the variable name. And then you have to put a colon, that is the separator of the variable name and the type. Then you have to put the type as well. And in Pascal, it is a golden rule that you have to put a semicolon at the end of each line, which we indicate it as the line terminator. හැම line එකක් අගම semicolon එකක් දාන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම දාන්න ඕන වෙන්නේ නැති තැන් තියෙනවා. I'm going to tell you those, right? But generally, we are going to put a semicolon at the end of the line to indicate this line is terminated from this particular point, right? Yeah, Saran va means in among ඔයාට එක example එක දැන් ලියනකොට තව හොඳට තේරෙයි, right? So here we are going to talk about the variables. Right? Now variable is going to define like this. VAR. Now this is a reserve word. Indicates a variable, and this must be used. Right, must use. Right, VAR කියන word එක සරන් අපි අනිවාර්යෙන් පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕනේ variable එකක් මුලින්ම හඳුන්වලා දෙනකොට. Very first time හඳුන්වලා දෙනකොට. එතනදී අපි යාව හඳුන්වලා දෙන්නේ VAR word එකත් එක්ක, then the variable name, colon and the variable type. එතනදී අපි values මුකුත් දෙන්න යන්නේ නැහැ මෙයාට. So it is the way of writing it, right? And again, if you are having like more than one variable in the same type, so you can declare those things together, right? මම ලියලා පෙන්නන්නම්. මම මෙතන මුලින්ම මේ variable එක define කරන විදිහ ලියලා පෙන්නන්නම්. var, right? And I'm going to say x, and I'm going to put a colon, and I'm going to say integer, right? So this is the variable name, and this is the type of variable or variables, right? Because you can have a list right there, right over there, right? So colon is the separator of the variable name and the integer. So in between var and x, you are going to have a space, right? Var space x, then colon integer. They are not going to take any spaces. Seran තේරුණාද?
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay, people, you can start writing. I'm going to write some examples at the below. And people remember, var is all simple word, right? So I'm going to make this v little, otherwise you will feel v as the capital. Let me know when you are done. Okay, two are done. Seren, temp and status are the identifiers. So you only need to like make sure that you are writing it according to the identifier rules, right? You can have any name for that, right? But again, it should be under the identifier rules, right? Got it, Saran? Yeah, okay. Right. So then after, I hope every others are okay as well. තාම ලියන කවුරු හරි ඉන්නවනම් indicate කරන්නට අකාලා. All right. So I'm moving forward. Right. So after the variables, they have talked about the constant. So the only different of the constant and the variable, they use const word instead of var, right? Then variable එක ලියනකොට කියන්නේ වෙනස් වෙන value එකක් තියෙන කෙනෙක් නම් අපි පටන් ගන්නේ var වලින්, constant එක පටන් ගන්නේ const කියන keyword එකෙන්. So var is going to be a keyword or a reserve word. Const is going to be a reserve word too, right? So nothing to be worry about this name. So we wrote about the variables. Here we are writing about the constant and yeah, just a second, people. Yeah. I'm just wondering whether they are not defining any data types regarding these. Yeah, let me check this. Right. Am I correct? Yeah. Yes, people, there is a different. And when you are introducing the constants, you have to use the const keyword and then the name of the constant straight away at that point, and then the equal sign, then the value of that constant, right? We are not going to use it as we declare the variables. Again, variable එකේදී අපි data type එකක් දුන්නානේ. So here we are not going to go do that thing, right? So you can just blindly use the data type that you are going to use, right? If you are going to say it as an integer, so you use a whole number. If you are going to make it as a real, so you are going to use a decimal value, right? So likewise. So yeah, so we better write it like this. So constants. So let me write the example. Yeah, Saran, temp colon real means temp is a variable name. This is going to be a variable which can hold the real time data. That means in the memory, others can write this as well. In the memory, there will be a space which label as temp. So this can have only decimal values, right? Not the integers like 10, 20. It can't hold 10 and 20. So we are saying you create a space. We are saying to the computer or to the programming language, you create a space for temp, and you stay like watching like that. Stay until you are getting a decimal value to this to hold it. And if someone in case if someone give a whole number to be called by the temp, it will say, okay, I can't take this. I am a real type. So it gives you a syntax error, right? Because my type is real. You are trying to put an integer into me, right? ඒක හරියටම පොඩි puzzle එකක නේ අදාළ කොටස වගේ නේද? දාන්න යා real type එක එක්කෙනෙක් නම් ඒ જાති එක්කෙනෙක් තමයි එතන දාන්නේ. නැත්තම් බෑ යාට අල්ලගෙන. Status, yeah. Status is another variable name, Sarah. It is the type is boolean. That means status කියන variable එකට අල්ලගෙන ඉන්න පුළුවන් values ಜಾති දෙකයි තියෙන්නේ. එක්ක true කියන value එක නැත්නම් false කියන value එක. Okay, so let me know when you are done, people. And at the bottom, it's better you write this particular sentence. Right. So one is done. How about others? Okay, 2 are done, 3 are done, 4 are done. Minul, if you really need to change the constant value, so you have to change the original place. That's all. Right? ඒ කියන්නේ මිනුල් දැන් මේක මෙහෙම ලිව්වයින් පස්සේ x කියන්නේ 150ම තමයි. ඔයාට වෙන කොහේ හරි පහල කියන්න බෑ ආයෙත් x equal 160 කියලා. එහෙම බෑ. මේක කරන්න ඕන නම් ඔයා මේ මම මේ අපි මේ ලියපු තැන 150 කියලා ලියපු තැන එක තැනයි තියෙන්නේ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකේ එතන. ඒක මකලා 160 කරන්න. It is the only way that you can do that. All right, people, can we move? Yeah, Minul, barriers means like limitations, like constant එකකට දෙන්න පුළුවන් values. Yeah. මෙහෙමයි. අපිට ඒක මම දන්න තරමින් අපි ඒක චුට්ටක් check කරලත් බලමු. මම දන්න තරමින් මට මතක තරමින් there are no limitations කියලා කියන්නේ අපි Pascal වල අපි දන්න data types ටික ඇතුළත we can give it a value, right? So x equal true කියලා දෙන්නත් පුළුවන්, so it's going to be a boolean value. F equals 15.2 කියලා දෙන්න පුළුවන්, so it's going to be a real value, right? Okay, so people, I'm going to move forward. Right, so yeah, now then it's going to be operators. Now operators are there to do the operations. Now what are these operations? Now there are many different operations regarding a programming language, but here in our syllabus regarding the Pascal, we are talking about basically mathematical operations, right? So there are algebraic operators, right? So you can later you will know comparison operators, the logical operators, right? Those are the things that we are going to talk, but there are many types of operators in the Pascal programming, right? If you like observe, you can find many different operators as well. Now this operators, as I told you, is helping to do some operation. So that means these operators will be help you to do the processes majorly, right? So algebra operators is to do the algebraic operation, right? So it's nothing, the things that we know, the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and there are two special operators which we call the div and the mod, right? දැන් අර ඔයගොල්ලෝ අපි remainder එක හොයනකොට නේද සමහර කට්ටිය පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ percentage mark එක. So mod works as that percentage mark. Right now, as I remember, a percentage mark cannot be used inside the Pascal to take the remainder, right? But it can be used in the Python language and many other languages there are, right? So these are the operators. So plus operator is do the addition, minus or the dash is for subtraction, right? And star, it indicates the multiplication, and slash, the forward slash, indicates the division, right? So 10/4, that means division. So 10 divided by 4, 2.5, 0 will be given. And div, here the illustration of div. මේ යට තියෙන div එකේ illustration එක. So when you divide 20 by 6, your answer is going to be 3 and 2 is remaining. So 3 indicates div, 2 indicates mod. So that means if you give 20 div 6, it will give you 3 because div is 3. If you say 20 mod 6, it gives you 2 because modulus is equal to 2. So the answer or the whole number of the division, it's going to be indicated by the div, and the remainders are going to indicate by the mod, right? So there are 6 type of algebraic operators that for you to know, right? So addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, div, and mod. All right. So whenever you are going to use these operators, you are going to use these symbols, right? And these 2 words as if necessary, right? And the comparison operators. Now, when we are comparing, we can see whether they are equal, whether they are not equal, whether they are greater than, or whether they are greater than or equal, as we use in the flow charts, or less than or equals. Those are the operators that we have to remember. So it is very logical, right? And remember, when you are given an operation with a comparison operator, your result will be given in Boolean format. True the false the කියලා තමයි එන්නේ. දැන් ඒක අපේ සාමාන්‍ය ජීවිතේත් අපි එහෙමනේ පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ නේද? අපි ඇපල් ගෙඩි දෙකක් අරගෙන කවුද ලොකු කියලා බලලා ලොකු කෙනා තෝරගන්න. ඒතර ලොකු කියන එකට true කියන එක තමයි එන්නේ. right? තාත්තයි පුතයි බලලා වයසින් වැඩි කෙනා, අඩු කෙනා. true false කියන කෙනා තමයි එන්නේ. තෝරා ගැනීමක් අපිට එන්නේ. right? so අපි හැවුවොත් තාත්තාගේ වයස වැඩිද පුතාට වඩා? oh, it's true. පුතාගේ වයස වැඩිද තාත්තාට වඩා? So it's false, right? So comparison operators always gives you a result in Boolean format. Now remember, that's a very important thing to remember. And same way, the algebraic operators give you a mathematical answer, like 6 plus 3 will give you a 9. 752 will give you a 7 minus 5 will give you a 2. 2 into 5 will give you a 10. And 10 divided by 4 will give you a real value, 10.5. Then මෙයාව අපි 10 divided by 2 කිව්වොත්, it's not the 2 that you are going to receive, it's 2.0. Right? Okay, so those are the comparison and algebraic operators. And logical operators, you know about these things. In these operators, they are talking about the 3 gates that we know, which is not, and or. So first they have introduced and. So you can have 2 expressions at the 2 sides of the and, right? So instead of one condition, then ඔගොල්ලෝ මගේ flow chart අඳගෙන යනකොට සමහර අය හැවුවනේ එක condition box එකක conditions කීපයක් දාන්න බැරිද කියලා. අපි flow chart එකේදී සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඒක condition by condition අඳින්නේ. But when it comes to the Pascal, you can have all the conditions together using the and operator or o operator. ඒක ගැලපෙන විදිහටයි අපි ගන්න. right? මොකද and operator එක පාවිච්චි කරොත් දෙපැත්තම ඉන්න conditions true වුණාම තමයි total answer true කියලා. right? So you know how the and the truth table for AND gate works, right? It produces false or 0 when any of the operands are false, right? So 0 0, that means false false both, the answer is going to be false. False true both, answer is going to be still false. True false both, still false. It gives true only for true inputs, right? So that is how AND operator works. මෙතන පහල තියෙනවා, see, rainfall larger than 56. So if it is true, then this will give you a true output. If it is false, it will give you a false. දැන් හිතන්නකො මේ අපි එළියේ හයි කරලා තියෙනවා සෙන්සර් එකක් නැත්නම් අපේ output එකක් අපි කාලගුණය මැනගන්න. ඒකේ තියෙනවා bulbs කීපයක්. Right, so green color bulb එකක් පත්තු වෙන්න ඕනේ rainfall 56 වලට වඩා වැඩිපුර ලැබිලා temperature එක 30ට වඩා අඩු like it is said in the very first example. So rainfall larger than 56. So if it is larger than 56, it's going to produce you a true. And it says temperature less than 30. So if temperature is less than 30, it's going to produce you a true again. So true and true on both the side will give you a true answer, right? And if anyone goes wrong or anyone goes false, you are going to receive a false value or a false output. Or like false as the output, right? Not the false output. False කියන output එක තමයි වාටේ. Clear the AND operator again. Let me have the confirmation.
Clear.
Right, great. Okay, so the very same way, O operator, not like the very same way, but likewise, the O operator works if any of the expression is going to produce true, the final output is going to be true, right? So on like when both the expressions produce false, then only the final answer or the final output is going to be false. All other combinations will going to give you a true output. So we are going to use it accordingly. නේද අපිට conditions දෙකක් බලනවා මොකක් හරි එකක් okay නම් අපිට okay වෙන්න පුළුවන් නම් so we use O, right? So here are some examples. So either temperature is larger than 30 or rainfall is less than 55. දෙන්නගෙන් එක්කෙනෙක් okay වුණොත් we can have an output, right? එක situation එක අපි කොතනද පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ කියන එක ඒකට අදාළව අපිට පුළුවන් යාව manage කරගන්න, right? And the very last operator is going to be the not. So not operator works with a single expression and gives the opposite, complete opposite of the expression. So false will produce you a false expression, will produce you true when it is used with the not. And a true expression will produce false when it is used with the not. So temperature larger than 30 කියන condition එක විතරක් අපි සැලකුවොත් එතකොට temperature එක 30ට වැඩි වෙන අවස්ථාවේදී එයා දෙන්නේ true කියන value එක. So if it is used like this, not temperature larger than 30. So temperature එක 30ට වඩා වැඩි වෙන අවස්ථාවේ not එකත් එක්ක වැඩ කරාම එයා false කියන output එක produce කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට 30ට වඩා වැඩි කියන එක true නම් then it produce false, not true කියන එකනේ produce වෙන්නේ. So if this is true, ඒ කියන්නේ අපේ කාමරේ temperature එක 30ට වඩා වැඩි නම් මේ entire expression එකෙන් වාට එළියට false. කාමරේ temperature එක 30ට වඩා අඩු නම් entire expression එකෙන් එන්නේ වාට true, right? So likewise. So then this is the most important thing, the operator precedence, right? Now when several kind of operators are there in your expression, who to be considered as the very first one? When you are doing the mathematical calculation, you follow the theory of BODMAS, right? So likewise, this priority order goes with the Pascal. So the highest priority is given to the not operator, then the multiplication and division, div, mod, and type of things. And මේවා මතක තියාගන්න lazy. Not කියන එක තමයි මුලම කියන එක මතක තියාගන්න. Then multiplication division types. ඒ කියන්නේ star mark එක, forward slash එක, div again a division type, mod again a division type, and logical multiplication type. ඒ ටික තමයි second priority. Second highest priority. So third, addition and subtraction set it, right? Plus, minus, O. Rest of the things are lower than that, right? එහෙම මතක තියාගත්තම lazy උගලට. Not take a highest, multiplication division කට්ටිය second highest, and addition subtraction කට්ටිය third highest. Others are like lower than that. Okay, so people, you need to take these things into your note as well. So let's quickly go through these things, right? So, yeah. So I want you to list down the operators and the things. So you can copy it down from your books, right? තව විනාඩි 3ක් විතර ඉතිරි වෙලා තියෙනවා මේ වෙලාවෙත් කරගන්න පුළුවන්, right? So put the heading operators, right? And it's better you copy these things down, right? Then after just list the 3 types of operators. Right? මේවනම් මේ විදිහටම ලියා ගන්න. Basic types of operators, algebraic operator මේ තියෙන විදිහට. Comparison operator එක මේ තියෙන විදිහට. Right? Logical operations වලත් yeah, logical operators වලට මම කියන්නම් කොහොමද ලියන්නේ කියලා. So as the homework, just write the operators and highlight these particular things. Write these 2 lines. Then algebraic operators ටික ලියා ගන්න මේ තියෙන විදිහටම, comparison operators ටික මේ විදිහටම ලියා ගන්න මෙතන මේ තියෙන paragraph එකත් එක්ක. Right? So next week අපි හම්බුනාම මම කියන්න logical operators වල මොනවාද ලියා ගන්න ඕනේ කියලා. right? එතකොට අපි මේ moment එකේදී මේක fill up කරගමු. Right? So by next week, once we're done with the operators, we are going to jump into a programming part. ඊළඟට තියෙන්නේ කොහොමද program එකක් ලියන්නේ කියලා කතා කරන්න. මොනවාද input එකක් ගන්නෙ කොහොමද, monitor එකේ දෙයක් display කරන්නේ කොහොමද, ඊළඟට variable එකකට value එකක් assign කරගන්නේ කොහොමද, reassign කරගන්නේ කොහොමද, process එකක් කරගන්නේ කොහොමද, right? මේක කතා කරාම you will be having the ability to write the program regarding our flowcharts. So we are going to write it, right? And we are going to execute and see whether it is working, right? Okay, so people, I'm going to end the session from this particular point, right? So thank you very much. And please complete your homework, right? It's a small thing for you to do. So we are doing the programming. We are coding actually starting by next week, right? Okay, people, have a nice weekend. So I'm going to end the session from this point, right? Thank you very much, people.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Right, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Dua, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Right, okay, Saran, thank you.